Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you very much for all your questions. Don's last day, Don.
Off to Orlando next.
Oh, you're off to Orlando, that is
First
true.
game, yeah.
Club World Cup.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Very much so. Nedum's with us. And Jules has a big, posh new house with some lovely new wallpaper. Jules, is that right?
The new house is right. This is the old wallpaper that was there when we moved in, which will go very soon when, you know...
How would you describe that wallpaper for people maybe listening on the podcast?
Don was really kind about it. Don said he was...
Well,
that's a concern.
Well, I was, Jules, and then we had
his tattoos.
Well, no, I was. Then we got a close-up, and then I saw the sort of the decor behind. It looks like someone's like wrote on it or scribbled on it.
What did you ever do with your strawberry on your arm?
Oh, that went.
Sure
That got lasered off a long time ago.
Wow, there we go. Yeah, you had that heart that looks like a strawberry, didn't you?
That's gone.
Meanwhile, discussing beforehand, which got me thinking. So in England, it's not really a tradition here in the States. You have a sports day, like egg and spoon race, sack race, things like that. And part of it is the parents' race, which is a sprint basically across the field. And Nedum, obviously, as a former world-class sprinter, you must dominate these events. You must take them very seriously.
Yeah, sure. I've always been remembered as that former world-class sprinter, yeah.
Yep.
I don't take them seriously, but if anyone does fancy a challenge, I do like to let them know. It's not quite to the same standard as Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price.
Right.
But relatively speaking, for that region, yeah, I do my bit, Dan, I do my bit.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Don, back in the day?
See, this is my nemesis, because I try to stay away from these, because speed was never my thing.
Okay.
So I could quite easily go into a parents' race and lose.
Oh, so you've stayed...
Yeah, I've seen some of the competition and some of the dads, and I'm thinking, like, yeah, he looks quick.
Oh, really?
So if I go in there,
yes.
I don't know if they know who I am in the next couple or not. But if I went in there and lost, that would crush my confidence.
Nedum, this is a new noise you seem to develop when Don talks.
Yeah, it's interesting because I hadn't thought about that perspective of like worried about losing. Because to be fair, most of the people that I run against, barring probably one or two, I don't know if they can make it to the end of the race, even if it's like 50 metres.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand that perspective. Yeah, fair play.
And Jules, we know how competitive you are.
Yeah, but so we don't have them in France, for example. So when I moved here and then we had our first child and he did sports day, I had no idea really what it was, and there was no way I was going to do that race. And the dad did it. One of the dad pulled his hamstring, then fell on the floor. I was like, this is it. What's the point of doing this? You're embarrassing yourself in front of
Please tell me it was Gab.
You could have been Gab easily, yeah.
Okay.
Is that up your street? Are you into that if you had it here?
Oh, definitely. I'd love a sports day race. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we don't really have it here. Okay, obligatory percentage question for Nedum. After Don admitted yesterday he may need help with his US geography, what is the percentage chance he gets lost on his Club World Cup adventures?
Oh, do you know what? That's a really good question. And I want to say that it's probably 70-30. However, I think Don has acknowledged the fact that he's going to struggle with this.
Yep.
And he's going to leave extra early and put in real strong plans. So I'm actually going to say it's only 30% now.
Right,
so I'm a believer in Don Hutchison on this trip. I think you will survive, my friend.
I think Nedum's not far off. It could be north of 70. Right. However, I expect it to be 0 because I'm putting all my logistics into someone that's going to make sure they hold my hand and make sure I get on that bus and get to the stadium. I get on the stadium, on the bus, back to the hotel, and they hold my hand and they tell me what airport I've got to go to, and when I've got to go to Atlanta or Cincinnati or Orlando or Miami, tell me where I'm going, but please show me the way.
Good.
Pays well, that job, doesn't it, eh?
Yeah.
Pays well.
Yeah, exactly. Jules, what's happening with Gyokeres? There were a few Premier League clubs linked to him, but it seems his relationship with the sporting owners has collapsed, where they seem to be denying a release clause for him.
No, I think they want the release clause. What they don't want is this sort of gentleman's agreement that they seem to have about how much he could leave, less than the release clause. The thing is now the window is shut again. He just opened a little bit before the Club World Cup. Basically, they did that so Cristiano could find a club to play in the Club World Cup, which was the dream of Infantino, and in the end, they're in Saudi Arabia. So now he's shut again. It will reopen in a week or 10 days, I think it is. And then I think the Gyokeres saga will start again because as we heard, there's a lot of clubs in England especially that will be tempted, that are looking at it, that are monitoring the situation, not for 100 million. Nobody would pay 100 million, and I think even Sporting know that. But Sporting will try to get as much money as they can, which makes a lot of sense for them.
Would you go for him or Osimhen, Jules?
It's a great question. I think Osimhen's contract is a bit difficult, and his wages, and there's obviously, I think, things that he did when he was at Napoli that maybe just scaring a little bit some clubs. I think Osimhen is a wonderful talent that is just suited perfectly for the Premier League. Gyokeres has already a bit of that experience of English football, albeit in the Championship and a little bit at Brighton, but especially with Coventry. I don't know, I like them both. I think Osimhen all around is a better footballer than Gyokeres. But again, it depends what the situation is contractually.
I'll tell you two players that I'm not getting to mention who I think are absolutely top draw.
Oh, are they two Italian players?
No, they're not actually.
Oh, good.
All right, João Pedro at Brighton.
Right.
He needs like a rocket every now and again because I think he believes in himself, but he's a talent. And the other one is Ekitike at Eintracht Frankfurt. I absolutely think he'd be perfect for the Premier League.
Oh, good.
Ability-wise, they don't seem to get mentioned.
Oh, well, you just mentioned them.
There you go.
There we go. Who will be the better deal? Declan Rice for 100 million, Wirtz for 100 million, or Jack Grealish for 100 million? Nedum?
Well, there's still a bit of time left on Grealish's contract to get that over the line. But if we're to be factual now, technically speaking,
he's won more than
Jack
Declan
Grealish
Rice.
has been more worthwhile. There you go. So that should not be forgotten. I know it's a really sour point, but in reality, for as much as he seems like his time is up, he's got quite a few medals, and one of them came in a season where he was a big deal for City when they won a treble.
So who was the better deal?
Oh, obviously Grealish, without a doubt, no questions, nothing to worry about. Easy answer.
Don, does it make a difference for a team to have a young manager who was more recently a player than an older manager? Will that specific difference allow Xabi Alonso to have a positive impact upon the Real Madrid squad?
No, not really. I think if you look at Carlo Ancelotti, probably one of the best managers of all time in terms of what he's done as a player and a manager, absolutely respected. I don't really think it makes a difference whether you're young or old, as long as you've got ability, as long as you are very honest with your players, because we talked about it the other day, when you have those meetings very early on, you can smell a manager when he's talking waffle.
Right.
You can smell him in 5 minutes. And also when another manager comes in who you believe in, who likes you and you like him, you would absolutely trust him. So the man management of the manager these days, I think, is so important.
Nedum, do you prefer young or old?
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. So that point that Don's made, even the question talking about managers, I think young players these days are more used to head coaches, whereas I think from when we were younger, it was about managers. And a manager could be like Sir Alex Ferguson, but the coaching staff around them are the ones who can make a big difference. Whereas I think these days you can smell a bad coach from the way that they do things on a day-to-day basis. What is their plan? Are they making players better, and so on and so forth? So I think in this generation, somebody that's older and more old school probably doesn't connect in the same way that, say, they would have done 10, 15 years ago, because the nature of the players is different. So I think a younger, open-minded head coach who's got a certain tactical eye and ability to develop players, I think that's the type of thing these days that gets the best out of players, as opposed to older managers who have obviously been successful but speak a different language these days.
Nedum, what was it that made a coach, quote-unquote, smell bad?
Usually it was the scent of cut grass. You know what I mean? If there was cut grass and they're rolling around and stuff like that. But genuinely, I think for coaches themselves,
what a terrible joke.
Listen,
Why would they be
I thought yours
around?
was a joke. I thought yours was a joke. But genuinely, for the way that coaches are, you can see that sometimes they'll say something, but do they really believe it?
Right.
Do they follow through with things? Because I've had some head coaches, for example, that said, get the ball down, try and play good football, this is what we're going to do. And then when it's game time and you start doing it, they get anxious and tell you to stop doing it. So it's well, okay, so I guess that means that nothing you say really counts then. Whereas for some managers, they will live and die by what they're asking you to do. And as a consequence, they empower you to go out there and sort of have their messaging going forward. And they're the ones who I think you can believe in more and know that it is a process, kind of, in fairness, the way that United are hoping their manager's going to be long term. Because otherwise, perhaps he is a fraud.
For Jules, after Lewandowski, the Michal Probierz has left the job as coach of Poland. How ugly is this for the national team? This, of course, was after he stripped Lewandowski of his captaincy. Lewandowski said he wouldn't play under him again, and now he's out of a job.
Yeah, I think this is a fascinating story. Going back, I think it's a good question to come after the one you just asked the boys about managers and head coaches and who you connect the best with, because this is player power at its best. And Lewandowski has been amazing for Poland. Well, has been amazing in his career for Poland. I think he tried his best to do as best as possible for a team that's ceiling really is, as we saw in the last World Cup, last 16, and then rarely more than that. And to be fair, very often less than that even. But this is such a bad look for the country, for the national team, but for Lewandowski himself, because he feels like at 38, he's throwing his toys out of the prime by saying, "What? You didn't want me as a captain? You choose Zelensky." And so if you do that, then I'm not going to play for it. Even from a Lewandowski point of view, I think this is wrong. Really, this is wrong. Come on.
Terrible.
Surely, and to be fair, the two versions are so different. I don't know who's lying, but there's somebody who's lying between Lewandowski and Probierz, really, because they are saying two completely different things on how these things happen, how these scenes unraveled. That I'm not sure who to believe. But I think from a Lewandowski and Poland's point of view, it's a really bad look.
Terrible, isn't it? If I was Lewandowski, I wouldn't be happy with myself that I've cost someone a job. It's not a great look, that, is it? Put your head on the pillow knowing you had an argument with someone, but they got sacked because you were the star player.
Depends who it was. Nedum, if City wins the Club World Cup, does that at least make up for last season?
I don't know if it makes up for last season, but it certainly sort of propels them into the next season.
No is the answer, Nedum. No is the simple answer.
Okay, no is the answer. Sorry, Dad, I forgot. You
Yes.
forgot to send me the script before the show
Yes,
started.
exactly.
No
Just
is the
no.
answer. It
Just
does
no.
not
Doesn't
make
need
up for
any
it. Thank you,
caveats
Dad.
or
No.
explanation.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah, thank
would-
you. Yeah, cheers, Dan. No, it will not make a difference.
There we go. Excellent. Will the winner of this year's Ballon d'Or have to come from a team participating in the Club World Cup, Jules?
No, but considering the votes are due, I believe, in 3 weeks' time.
Are they?
Or 4 weeks' time.
Oh.
Or the start of the voting process. I think it's important. But every game from now on to the ceremony or the closing of the vote, which is beginning of September, every game will be important. So if you have another 7 games in this competition and you're a Dembele or Vinicius or Mbappe or those kind of guys, and you score 10 goals in 7 and you win this Club World Cup, and beating top teams in the way, then of course that will play in your favor than if you're on holidays in Ibiza like Lamine Yamal or Rafinha. There's no doubt about that. Is it all on this competition? Of course it's not. But it could play a big part in who you're going to vote for.
Did you ever go to holiday in Ibiza, San Antonio?
No, I was more of an Iron Apple man.
Of course you were.
Cyprus.
Yeah, most definitely. Nedum, I bet you were there, weren't you, partying away?
Yeah, sure. To be fair, I don't know if you remember the cultural reference, but like the places I ended up being like the ones about Cancun. You know, like they say in the NBA when somebody gets knocked out of the playoffs. I tended to be in that sort of place. Cancun on 3.
Oh,
That's where I'm at.
Oh, very nice. Oh, yeah, Nedum. With the reserves. No, that's it. Thank you very much. ESPN FC returns to your screens tomorrow as we'll be looking ahead in more detail to start the Club World Cup. Oh,
Come on!